More cruise missiles fell. Some hit the military base's ammunition warehouse, causing an internal explosion. A small mushroom cloud rose into the sky, like a devil's flower blooming, devouring the lives of Javanese soldiers who couldn't escape in time. Some cruise missiles struck the armored vehicle parking area. Those expensive tanks and armored cars were destroyed in the violent explosion. Cruise missiles are not anti-tank missiles. With warheads weighing hundreds of kilograms, tanks appear as mere toys before them. More cruise missiles deliberately targeted the camp area, playground, and dormitory district. Every detonation brought massive casualties. When the attack ended, this military base was nearly half destroyed, with severed limbs scattered everywhere. Some bodies even split into pieces, hanging from treetops, windowsills, and buried in building ruins. Injured personnel were howling in the fields, some holding their stomachs trying to stuff back their protruding intestines, others searching everywhere for their missing arms, creating a scene like an Azura hell, sending chills down one's spine. Not only the bases around Yamagata but the city itself was under the attack of cruise missiles. Yamagata is the capital of Jawa, also Southeast Asia's largest city, a world-famous harbor, and a national political, economic, and cultural center, inhabited by over 10 million people, which balloons to over 30 million if the surrounding towns are included. This capital city of Jawa experienced a devastating shock today. The Congress building located in the city center, the police headquarters, and the presidential palace were all targeted by multiple cruise missile attacks. Buildings collapsed while flames and screams echoed above the city. A large number of high-ranking officials and wealthy businessmen living here never anticipated being bombed by missiles, running around like headless flies. Outside the presidential building, Jawa's President Wei Yin-man received a warning and escaped through an underground passage before the cruise missiles arrived. Sitting in a bulletproof car, watching the missiles fall like divine swords, he trembled in anger, his lips quivering. "JECA Group, you maniacs. President, we must leave quickly. It's no longer safe here." The guards were also panicking. They never expected the war to descend so suddenly. Their only thought now was to escape from this chaotic city. Go to the cute underground command center, and also, immediately contact the beautiful country. I want to condemn the heinous acts of JECA Group, urging the beautiful country to send troops for reinforcement and declare war on JECA Group. Wei Yin-man said shakily, his mind a mess, with the only thought being to seek help from the beautiful country, because knowing Jawa country's strength alone wouldn't be sufficient against JECA Group. Wei Yin-man was well aware of this fact. The beautiful country is the only remedy for solving the current situation in Jawa country. Once the beautiful country deploys its fleet, JECA Group, for all the things you've done to Jawa today, I will definitely retaliate tenfold. Wei Yin-man thought bitterly, envisioning the beautiful country's fleet stationed in the Indian Ocean, poised to strike against JECA Group. In Wei Yin-man's plan, the beautiful country now lacks only a reason to commence warfare against JECA Group, and JECA Group's attack on Jawa provides the perfect excuse to do so. The beautiful country, self-styled as the world's police, maintaining world order, would definitely not miss such an opportunity to gain fame and prestige. Bang! Boom! As the car passed near the street of Independence Square, a loud explosion suddenly resonated. Wei Yin-man looked up through the car window, mouth agape. He saw a giant white stone monument hit successfully by 3 consecutive cruise missiles. This was the symbol of Yamagata and of Jawa country. The Independence Monument, constructed by President Sujarno, a marble stele standing 137 meters high, topped with a 35-kilogram pure gold torch sculpture, representing the spirit of Jawa's independence. Now, hit by 3 cruise missiles with precision, amidst the thunderous roar, the steel-reinforced concrete couldn't bear the weight. The monument buckled in the middle, initiating its final free fall. Dust flew everywhere, obscuring the skies, debris and ruins colliding chaotically, resembling a sudden apocalypse. People fled in panic and confusion, some falling, others screaming their relatives' names. The air thick with choking dust and a faint burnt smell. The sight left Wei Yin-man's face bloodless. Looking at the collapsed Independence Monument, a beacon of Jawa yesterday, today reduced to an unordered heap of rubble. Listening to the overlapping sounds of alarms, ambulances, and fire trucks, Wei Yin-man clenched his fist tightly, angrily cursing, "Jekka Group, you son of a—" A string of profanity spewed forth as Wei Yin-man's chest rose and fell heavily. One cruise missile might be accidental. 3 hitting simultaneously didn't happen by coincidence. Jekka Group specially targeted their Independence Monument, utterly trampling on their national dignity, akin to someone bombing the beautiful country Statue of Liberty with missiles. But no matter how much Wei Yin-man swears, his curses are powerless against missiles. Tonight in Jawa country, smoke clouded the landscape. The price they pay for their stances and actions, leading to provocation with Jekka Group. The sudden attack on Jawa by the Jekka Group on May 26 shocked the entire world. Although Jawa's previous business strikes against the Jekka Group and restrictions on the promotion of the Dragon Coin might have angered Jekka Group, their decisive action caught everyone off guard. Faced with outside voices and public opinion, the Jekka Group intensified its offensive against Jawa while issuing an announcement, firmly stating its position on armed protection of overseas Chinese. Hearing this explanation, countries around the world were left speechless. What kind of protection uses large-scale airstrikes and intensive cruise missile bombardments as a path to protect? Do they really take others as fools? More people began to focus on the actions of the beautiful country because the president of Jawa country had publicly appealed, condemning the atrocities of the Jekka Group through media, and desperately sought help from the beautiful country. The beautiful country now has 5 aircraft carrier combat groups, along with fleets from Japan, South Korea, and the Great British Empire, forming an immensely powerful fleet. It can be said that most countries around the world cannot withstand the strike from this fleet. Calling it an annihilation fleet is not an exaggeration. The relations between Jekka Group and the beautiful country are incredibly tense. Not long ago, Jekka Group forcefully occupied the Changi Naval Base, detaining and capturing hundreds of beautiful country soldiers, heavily embarrassing the beautiful country. Moreover, due to the promotion of the Dragon Coin, which threatened the beautiful country's US dollar dominance, the beautiful country was very dissatisfied and repeatedly discredited the value of the Dragon Coin in the media. In this context, as Jekka Group further attacked Jawa country, many people believed the beautiful country could no longer tolerate it. But in fact, the beautiful country has exhibited far more patience than expected. Regarding Jawa's desperate pleas for help and its flattering gestures, the beautiful country has made no statements, with its fleet continuing to roam the Indian Ocean, ignoring Jawa country. Jawa country hoped that the beautiful country would declare war on Jekka Group, severely suppressing Jekka Group's arrogance and saving them from dire straits. Yet, the beautiful country did nothing of the sort, merely calling on Jekka Group to restrain itself and limit the protection of overseas Chinese to a controllable and safe extent. Further developments, including declaring war with the Jekka Group, which Jawa country most hoped to see, showed no signs of action whatsoever. The news Jawa country could see only showed the beautiful country president vacationing with his wife and daughter on holiday, seemingly indifferent to the plight of Jawa country being bullied by Jekka Group. This situation, portrayed by Western media, appeared as if the beautiful country was considering the bigger picture, unwilling to ignite more warfare leading to mass casualties. Known for its fondness for war, the beautiful country being this quiet, turning from a muscular powerhouse into a gentle scholar only engaging in verbal play, left many people worldwide surprised. The Jekka Group ignored external criticism and the beautiful country's response, focusing solely on its armed protection of overseas Chinese operation. To ensure the safety of overseas Chinese in Jawa, more troops went to Jawa. After Air Force and Naval Forces entered, the Army began landing in Jawa country. North side of Jawa country, off the coast of Ceylon City. Ceylon City is an important trade port of Jawa country, with a population of 3 million, making it a major city. Due to its proximity to the Malacca Strait, it is also a significant military stronghold, capable of guarding the strait's shipping lanes, including the Customs General Administration of Jawa country located here. June 5th at dawn. The thin fog in the sky had not yet dissipated, and a fleet had already appeared off the coast of Ceylon City. The flag of the Jekka Group flew over the fleet, the main guns of the ship's bows, and missile launch units were ready and in position. Arriving here was the landing fleet dispatched by the Jekka Group. At the center of the fleet was the Ilova River, a Devourer-class deep-diving cruiser, the flagship of the First Fleet. To either side of the fleet, there were 8 destroyers, 15 escort ships, and over 100 transport ships, supply ships, dock landing ships, and tank landing ships. This massive fleet, besides the Devourer-class cruiser, consisted of destroyers, escort ships, and transport ships from Siam, Anan, Johor, and Temasek, who are now part of the great vessel of the Jekka Group, and in such times of war, they must join the battle. The fleet carried over 20,000 infantry, with 10,000 belonging to the Marine Corps of the Jekka Group, comprising 2 Marine brigades, and another 10,000 from several other countries. As Southeast Asia consists of archipelagic countries, Jekka Group has always emphasized the cultivation of Marine Corps units. Currently, Jekka Group has a total of 15 Marine brigades. Previously, because the wars initiated by Jekka Group were conducted on land, whether conquering the Southeast Asian peninsula, marching westward against India, or advancing southward against Johor and Temasek, as these countries bordered Jekka Group by land, even though Marine Corps units were trained, they had no opportunity to be employed. Since they were not needed on the field, the Jekka Group's army resolved the enemies, resulting in this being the Marine Corps' first appearance in an external war by Jekka Group. As soon as the Jekka Group's landing fleet appeared on the sea surface, the beaches off the coast of Ceylon City began to grow hectic. Due to airstrikes by the Jekka Group, Ceylon City was not without any preparedness, coupled with Ceylon City having deep-water good harbors, being an important transshipment city for maritime trade in Southeast Asia. If Jekka Group were to deploy troops for a landing, they would definitely need to capture several port cities, because only port cities can accommodate ships for the transport of large quantities of army units and supplies to provide resources for subsequent assaults. Ceylon City is also on the defense list of Jawa country. Yet, thinking is one thing, but actually witnessing the grand fleet of Jekka Group appear on the sea surface caused great panic among the defending forces of Ceylon City. Over 100 warships arrayed across the sea is a breathtaking sight indeed. The Javanese army stationed here consists of 5 divisions and 3 independently organized brigades, all urgently mobilized from nearby areas, totaling over 50,000 personnel. Seeing the sea covered with warships and feeling the aura of war looming, the morale of the Javanese army began to plummet even before Jekka Group started their offensive. After Jekka Group's landing fleet appeared on the sea, the initial attack was launched by Jekka Group's Magic Bird fighters. 18 Magic Bird fighters carrying out bombing missions arrived, and based on satellite reconnaissance intelligence, they targeted the artillery positions, missile launch vehicles, and helicopter hangars along the Javanese army's defensive line, destroying many valuable pieces of equipment in successive explosions. After a round of attacks from the Magic Bird fighters, they did not withdraw but instead continued to hover at high altitudes, with more Magic Bird fighters arriving to provide support. Though each sortie by the Magic Bird fighters wears down their durability, they will not miss crucial missions like landing operations. With mastery of air superiority, Jekka Group fully leveraged their advantage, circling in the sky to provide cover for the landing fleet on the sea. Whenever the Javanese army attempted to attack the landing fleet, many firepower points were exposed and promptly struck by air raids from the Magic Bird fighters, lasting for very limited time. Most of the Javanese country's air defense systems and aircraft had already been destroyed in Jekka Group's initial aerial assault, leaving them unable to curb the rampant Magic Bird fighters. The Javanese army could only watch helplessly as the Magic Bird fighters wreaked havoc above, cowering shivering in trenches and behind cover. On the sea, Ilova River took the lead position, its biological radar detecting the water mine beneath the surface, either evading them or using its 203mm naval guns and rocket deep bombs to destroy them, clearing a safe passage for the follow-up landing forces, while probing and drawing fire from the shore defense forces. Seeing the 45,500-ton Devouring-class cruiser approaching and recognizing its formidable reputation, the Javanese army could no longer hold back, revealing their concealed firepower once more. Within bunkers dug into the terrain, missile launch vehicles were being pushed out, while hidden steel and concrete partial gun turrets stealthily extended their barrels aimed at the Ilova River. With flashes of gunfire, Missiles emerged from holes and artillery shells from barrels, flying towards the Ilova River, attempting to sink Jeka Group's powerful Devourer-class deep-diving cruiser. Facing the incoming fire, the Devourer-class opened up all air defense systems. Air defense missiles intercepted the incoming missiles, with 8 tentacles from the ship's bottom breaking through the sea, initiating the acid-liquid gun array and biological spiderweb. Dense acid-liquid arrows and webs, added to 8 11-barrel 30mm close-in weapon systems, made the Ilova River like another force entirely. Almost all incoming missiles and artillery shells were shot down, failing to break through successfully. Conversely, the exposed firepower faced strikes from Ilova River and Magic Bird fighters. Cruise missiles launched from the Ilova River and precision-guided bombs dropped by Magic Bird fighters, including drilling bombs plunging into hidden caves and bunker turrets, each accompanied by columns of dust and smoke rising, signifying yet another heavy firepower point eliminated. Until nearly all firepower points were cleared, the Ilova River, despite facing so much shore defense firepower, was only hit by one shell. That was a 155mm caliber shell, but landing on the Ilova River was like scratching its itch. The Devourer cruiser's main body is constructed with biological composite armor, with an average armor belt thickness of 380mm, offering sturdier defense than the heavy armor battleships of World War II. In World War II, 155mm shells were merely used by destroyers, whose shells were as ineffective against battleships as scratching an itch. The same logic applies today. The Ilova River just ended up with a bit charred on its hull without any casualties, continuing to wreak havoc in the near sea with its firepower, even using its bow naval guns for closer execution of the exposed enemy, forcing the Javanese Navy to lower their heads. Other destroyers and escort ships also followed the lead of their elder brother, pouring their firepower onto the shore, engaged in enthusiastic attacks. Regardless of their air force or navy, these countries facing tough battles offer little hope, but in situations of bullying the weak, they exhibit great courage. On the sea, dozens of helicopters took off from the warships, gaining altitude to suppress enemy fire for advancing landing troops. Under the cover of warships, many transport ships released massive quantities of hovercrafts, along with amphibious tanks and combat vehicles, rapidly advancing towards the shore. For the first wave of assault, Jeka Group dispatched the forces from Siam, Johor, and Henan countries, sending these cannon-fodder infantry ahead to test the combat resolve of the Javanese shore defense forces. The retaliatory firepower of the Javanese army arrived quickly, although it seemed sparse. After the Jeka Group's targeted strikes, most of the heavy firepower of the Javan shore defense forces had been eliminated. Shells occasionally fell on the sea, creating columns of water. The sea water soaked the uniforms of the soldiers on the hovercraft. Several hovercrafts were hit or overturned by water columns, leaving the infantry squads aboard either killed on the spot or struggling in the sea. However, even such firepower was enough to frighten the soldiers from the vassal country, as their tense and anxious expressions were evident. Even the amphibious assault vehicles advancing on the water fired with large errors due to their nervousness. Many shells landed inaccurately. Yet, the exposed firepower of the Javanese suffered greater losses, quickly silenced under the triple assault of Magic Bird fighters, helicopters, and warships. Due to the hasty construction of the defensive line, the shelters could not withstand the impact of missiles and bombs raining down. Charge, charge! The first hovercraft rushed ashore, and the soldiers from the vassal country leaped off one by one, clutching their guns as they began to find positions. The Javan shore defense infantry also peeked out from their shelters, aiming their machine guns and rifles at the charging infantry. Many vassal country soldiers were shot down, causing others to shrink their necks and hide sneakingly, with some even trying to crawl back onto the hovercraft, seemingly eager to pilot them back to the transport ships. Unfortunately, the hovercrafts had rushed ashore at full speed earlier and were now on land, about 20 to 30 meters from the seawater, making it impossible to return to the shore. Counterattack! However, with the landing of the amphibious assault vehicles, the situation greatly improved. Since the heavy firepower of the Javanese shore defense army had been destroyed, they suffered almost no losses and quickly landed, using their armor to cover the infantry assault. Although amphibious vehicles didn't have tank-level armor thickness, they couldn't be penetrated by rifles and machine guns either. The 105mm rifled cannon and onboard machine guns began to spit fire, suppressing the Javan Shore Defense Forces. With additional heavy firepower support from the air and sea, the soldiers from the vassal country launched another charge, advancing with the amphibious assault vehicles against the Javan Shore Defense Forces lines. This time, it was the Javan soldiers' turn to panic. The heavy casualties shattered their morale, and many chose to turn and flee. They want to run. Quickly chase. These are military achievements. Haha. They're intimidated. Charge. The soldiers from the vassal country's forces, their morale soaring, pursued the retreating Javanese troops fiercely. Everyone was making a living in the Southeast Asia pot, as if no one was nobler than the others. They were well aware of each other's strengths, and held no fear of the Javanese soldiers themselves. Now seeing the Javanese troops fleeing en masse, the vassal country forces became even more energized, like tigers descending from the mountains, biting on the tails of the Javanese troops. This result left the Jekka Group landing fleet commander bewildered. Originally, they thought the Javanese could hold out for a while, but even just the vassal country forces seemed about to rout them. However, upon reflection, with the support of the air and sea, such superior firepower support and suppression, the Javan soldiers were neither formidable nor an iron army. With the vassal country soldiers having roughly equal strength, if they couldn't win even this battle, they'd truly be incompetent. Let's send our Marine Corps as well. Cherish the opportunity for real combat. The landing forces commander waved his hand, and meanwhile, the two Marine Corps brigades from the Jekka Group began charging towards the shore. Compared to the vassal country's beachhead forces, the major distinction of the Jekka Group's Marine Corps was the presence of a large number of super soldiers among them. Bam! 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 At a defensive line, a first-class super soldier charged forward with large strides. Bullets bounced off the steel heavy armor covering him, and he wielded a 14.5mm anti-aircraft machine gun, constantly mowing down Javanese soldiers like an emotionless war machine, destroying fire points one by one. Flanking him, there were second-class and third-class soldiers. Some set up sniper rifles for precise headshots on daring Javan soldiers. Others moved with agility like monkeys, jumping and rolling into the trenches, sweeping the trenches with gunfire, using ultra-fast neurological reactions and marksmanship to kill the Javanese that couldn't react in time. These super soldiers' tactical skills and physical fitness far surpassed ordinary soldiers. The first-class super soldier, in particular, was clad in steel-heavy armor, impervious to blade and bullet. They were the spearhead of the Marine Corps, guiding the troops to break through the lines. Even the most formidable defensive positions were easily taken by the super soldiers' passage. Moreover, with the tank landing ships arriving at the shore, Spider main battle mecha assigned to the Marine Corps began to disembark. The quantity of Spider main battle mecha was small, only about 30 to 40 units, but much depended on who their opponents were. The terrifying firepower, with each shot of the 203mm cannon shattering bodies and limbs, and the dense barrage of machine gun fire and cannons, tore enemies apart, causing tremendous psychological pressure. The soldiers from the vassal country, initially in high spirits, were even more emboldened seeing their brothers' forces enter the fray. Especially witnessing the might of the Jekka Group devastating the Javanese soldiers, they too were elated, becoming more aggressive in combat, with some even engaging in hand-to-hand combat, driving the Javanese soldiers into retreat. Once the Jekka Group's Marine Corps joined the fray, it was unsurprising that the Javan army completely collapsed. A large number of Javan soldiers either turned to flee or chose to surrender willingly. The city of Ceylon, garrisoned by 50,000 troops, didn't hold out for 2 hours. To be precise, it capitulated in 1 hour and 47 minutes as the Jekka Group announced their conquest. After completing the beachhead landing, part of the Jekka Group's army stayed to consolidate positions, while the rest continued forward, heading towards Ceylon City. Ceylon City. This major city of 3 million in Jawa is now in complete chaos because the news of Jekka Group's landing has reached the town after the swift defeat of the Javan Shore Defense Forces. Due to the rapid collapse of the Javan Shore Defense Forces, the citizens within the city barely had any opportunities to escape. By the time the city realized the gravity of the situation and rushed out en masse, the entire city was already gridlocked with traffic and people, making it impassable. Everywhere, the sounds of Javanese people arguing and crying could be heard, and in the struggle to get out of the city, people started fighting each other. Before they could escape Ceylon City, Jekka Group's landing force had already arrived in the city, occupying key routes everywhere in Ceylon City. Bang! 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 A heavy mechanical sound was heard, and the Javanese people on a road out of the city looked up in terror to see the massive spider main battle mecha appearing in view. Its towering 12-meter body, bristling with gun and cannon weapons, exuded a cold, murderous air, terrifying the gathered Javanese people greatly. Jekka Group is here. Run! Run quickly! Don't block my way! Get out of the way quickly! The crowd was like a school of sardines encountering a predator, frantically rushing back into Ceylon City. Some police who were maintaining order here also scattered like birds and beasts as soon as Jekka Group appeared, fleeing without a trace. Military headquarters orders. Control Ceylon City, we have work to do. Inside the spider mecha, a mecha pilot looked at the mission briefing, noticing that unlike in other cities Jekka Group had occupied, only Ceylon City received strict control orders. Understood. Platoon leader, let's go. I'll be responsible for keeping an eye on this street, and the Marine Corps infantry brothers will soon catch up. The 3 spider main battle mechas of this mechanical formation parted ways, went on high alert around, and strictly prohibited anyone from leaving the city. At this point, though most people were fleeing, some had disbelief, trying to sneak out under the chaos. Bang 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 bang. The heavy machine gun on a spider main battle mecha opened fire, riddling a car speeding towards the outside of the city into a sieve. The bulletproof car was no match for the 12.7mm caliber bullets, and the passengers were shot full of bloody holes, forcing the car to come to a gradual stop and break down on the road. From now on, no one is allowed to leave the city. Ceylon City is under curfew. Return to your homes, or face execution without mercy. The spider main battle mecha shouted at the crowd. With the earlier example, the Javanese people on the scene were scared out of their wits, knowing that Jekka Group would truly shoot to kill without any hesitation. The Javanese who originally wanted to take advantage of the chaos to escape the city quickly turned back, fearing they would be targeted by the spider main battle mechas. As the streets were controlled and blocked off, infantry from the Marine Corps also arrived, taking over the spider main battle mecha's role by stringing barbed wire on streets, setting up heavy machine guns, and sealing off streets completely with armored vehicles, not allowing anyone to leave the city. Outside the city, helicopters also hovered at low altitude, swooping down quickly on any Javanese appearing nearby, with Marine Corps paratroopers aboard descending to capture them. In addition to the outer city, towns and rural areas also had Jekka Group soldiers stationed, bringing them under full control. The people of Ceylon City were driven back to their homes, ordered to stay inside and not go out, only able to spread the news online and seek help from the outside. Yet soon, as key places inside the city were occupied by Jekka Group, even their internet access was cut off. Ceylon City Customs General Administration. The gunfire here gradually subsided as a spider main battle mecha crashed through the gates, letting a large number of Jekka Group soldiers flood in. The 10 or so customs personnel who resisted here had already become a pile of corpses on the ground, their resistance crushed by Jekka Group in less than a minute. The remaining customs personnel could only choose to ambush or hide in various corners, stubbornly refusing to come out alive or dead. At this moment, vassal country equipped with military dogs came onto the stage. They rudely rummaged through cupboards, wantonly smashing and beating. Any hiding customs personnel caught were first beaten harshly, then sent to Jekka Group, to which the soldiers turned a blind eye. "Colonel, we found some detained personnel here, you need to come take a look." A super soldier reported the discovery to Colonel Pungu in charge of the place, bringing a group over. The group was none other than Gong Guakai and some Chinese who were captured at the southern suburb factory in Ceylon City. Yet their current state was miserable, each person covered with wounds from suffering torture, while 20 or so bodies lay on the ground of those Chinese who couldn't survive the ordeal. Brought out from the prison, Gong Guakai squinted under the glaring sunlight, seeing the captured Javan customs personnel along with many Jekka Group soldiers around, could not help tearing up and crying, Our army finally came. Woo-woo. Jekka Group is here, we are saved. These beasts, let's see how they can still be arrogant now. I said Jekka Group wouldn't leave us alone, old Zheng, Sister Su, Ah Ping, will definitely avenge you. These Chinese, one after another. Their hot tears poured from their eyes, crying while glaring with venomous gazes at those customs officials from Jawa country. In the days they had been detained at the Customs General Administration, the torture and suffering they endured were beyond many people's imagination. The officials of the Customs General Administration used cigarette burns, whips, boiling water to scald flesh, cutting off fingers and toes. Many could not endure it and had already died in the customs prison. I know all about your situation. That's precisely why we're here. Colonel Peng Gu stepped forward, gripping Gong Guokai's hand, and said heavily, We've arrived too late. Officer, you mustn't let these people go. Their hands are stained with the blood of our Chinese. Gong Guokai tightly clutched Peng Gu's arm, his eyes filled with deep-seated hatred, gnashing his teeth as he spoke. You can rest assured about that. Not just here at the Customs General Administration. Anyone who has harmed Chinese people, each and every one, is on our punishment list. Peng Gu nodded, having already received the highest authorization from the military, allowing him to act freely here. Don't kill me, don't kill me. As he spoke, a scrawny man was dragged out like a dead dog, his body trembling violently, emitting blood-curdling screams akin to pig slaughter. This person was none other than Ketut, the director of counter-smuggling at the Customs General Administration, who had commanded the arrests at Gong Guokai's factory and operated the scene back then. Upon seeing Ketut, Gong Guokai's eyes turned red instantly, with a look that seemed he wished to tear the man apart. Bring him over. Two soldiers brought Ketut before Peng Gu and Gong Guokai. You're Ketut. I've heard you are quite dissatisfied with our Jekka Group. Peng Gu stared at the limp Ketut in front of him, who couldn't even stand without being propped up by Jekka Group soldiers. Yet, it was this very man who served as the inception of the anti-Chinese atrocities in Ceylon City. No, absolutely not. How could I dare to be dissatisfied with Jekka Group? I've always been a firm supporter of Jekka Group's presence and the implementation of Dragon Coin, but the higher-ups forcibly ordered me to execute. Ketut was still quibbling at this point. At this moment, if one were to ask whether Ketut had any regrets, it would be that he regretted so much that his intestines were turning blue. Had he known Jekka Group really dared to send troops to Jawa, he'd rather die than have taken on the task of confiscating Gong Guokai's factory and seizing numerous Jekka Group products. But he couldn't foresee the future. Jekka Group really took action without regard for the beautiful country's annihilation fleet's threat, brazenly invaded Jawa country, and now even ground troops have landed. In this era, it's all about evidence. Do you think I'll believe what you're saying? Peng Gu gave a cold laugh twice. Long before the attack, information related to Ketut had already appeared within the military and intelligence department of Jekka Group, and had been personally reviewed by Commander Su. If it weren't for wanting to achieve the greatest deterrence effect, the Steel Camp would have sent units to eliminate him long ago. Boss Gong, for the sake of having known each other, please help me, I still have children and parents at home. Ketut really felt scared. Fear had left a wet patch in his crotch, and in a desperate bid, he actually pleaded with Gong Guokai for assistance. I begged you like this back then? Did you spare us? Gong Guokai let out two bursts of laughter, the sound carrying a tone of ease and relief, then lowered his head to stare at Ketut, mocking. I told you, you'd pay the price. Now you regret it. Look at my employees who died tragically at your hands. Even if I spare you, they won't die, scum. Take him for execution. Peng Gu waved his hand, ordering the soldiers to drag Ketut away, and then had the accompanying journalists follow. On a flat surface, several horses brought from the zoo were brought up. Then Ketut's 4 limbs were tied with ropes to the horses. At this point, Ketut had fainted repeatedly from fear, unable to utter a complete sentence. Because in countries within the Chinese culture circle, People are not unfamiliar with the ancient punishment of 5-horse dismemberment. It's an extremely brutal punishment. Even in ancient times, those criminals subjected to it were rare because it was just too cruel. The onlookers surrounding, besides those Chinese, included all the personnel from the Customs General Administration. Under gazes either excited or terrified, Jekka Group soldiers swung the whips in their hands, striking the horses' behinds. The horses, feeling the pain, immediately became agitated, starting to kick their hooves, trying to escape the whipping soldiers. Thud! Ketut let out a shrill, piercing howl. His body stretched taut, muscles, skin, and bones were torn in the tension, making a chilling sound like tight fabric. The process lasted several minutes. Ketut endured immense agony. His features contorted, the pulling forces causing him beyond the point of unendurable pain. Good. Good. Come on, horse, exert a bit more strength. Ha. Even you, Ketut, have your day? Indeed, heaven has eyes, heaven has eyes. Sob, wife. Your revenge has been avenged. Rest in peace underground. The Chinese witnessing this scene cheered loudly in excitement. All the tortures Ketut had inflicted on them now returned to him. Snap! Finally, as the horses gathered strength to run, Ketut's body couldn't hold. Instantly torn apart, pieces of mutilated limbs dragged behind the horses, dying a tragic death on the spot. Ha. Gong Guokai burst into laughter, not knowing why he was laughing. But his mood was uncontrollable, extremely satisfying and joyful. In stark contrast were the personnel from the Customs General Administration, whose faces turned pale as if their parents had died, some already shaking like a sieve of husks, collapsing to the ground. Peng Gu first looked at the photos taken by the accompanying military reporter, feeling that they were well captured, fully recording Ketut's despair, regret, breakdown, and pain before his death. These photos should be handed over to Jekka Group's print media tomorrow, using this photo as the headlines, letting the world see the consequences of provoking Jekka Group. Peng Gu instructed the military reporter and then looked to the other side. Scanning the personnel from the Javanese Customs General Administration, he said indifferently, "Now that Ketut, the principal offender, is dead, it's the others' turn. The Chinese present, anyone who bullied you, point them out, and our Jekka Group will stand up for justice for you." This statement caused immediate outrage on the scene. The Chinese present hadn't expected Jekka Group's actions to be so extensive. Originally, they thought Jekka Group would only punish the chief evil, Ketut, but it turned out Jekka Group meant business, not sparing anyone. With Jekka Group's promise, the Chinese eagerly began their accusations. This person, this one, and this one, they've all bullied us. Their hands are stained with the blood of our Chinese people. And this one, he's the worst, fed us pig food, and forced us to eat it. This woman's heart is like a venomous scorpion. Just because she was jealous my daughter is prettier than her. She slashed my woman's face, can't let her go. The Chinese's enthusiasm rose high. Many had been bullied at the Customs General Administration. For each accusation, Jekka Group would immediately capture someone from the scene, dragging out the accused Customs General Administration employees. Some of these employees fiercely defended themselves. Others were too scared to stand. Some knelt down begging for mercy, but none of it worked. Being adults, everyone must be responsible for their actions. Since they dared to make a move back then, if regret now had any use, then the force wielded by Jekka Group would be wasted. Take them to be executed. Peng Gu issued a cold command. Regardless of the severity of their crimes, all accused Customs General Administration personnel faced only one punishment: execution by shooting. Upon hearing the words execution, these employees were stunned, almost doubting their ears. Jekka Group actually took such a hard line, completely ignoring human rights. Bang! 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 Under their reluctant and remorseful gazes, Jekka Group soldiers pressed rifles to the back of their heads and pulled the triggers. As the gun barrels trembled, bullets drilled into their skulls, destroying brain tissues, turning the insides into a mush as they fell heavily to the ground. One by one, the bodies twitched slightly, their eyes wide open, dead yet unrepentant, surprised that their anti-Chinese actions would provoke such cruel revenge from Jeka Group. Jeka Group soldiers dragged the corpses away, casually throwing them aside, then bringing up the next batch of Customs General Administration convicts to repeat the previous procedure, feeding them peanuts. Rounds of gunfire filled the sky above the Customs General Administration, and by the end of executions, 2/3 of the personnel were gone. Those lucky enough to survive looked at Jeka Group soldiers like they were demons. At the same time, they sighed with relief, realizing that because of their initial hesitation, not joining in with their colleagues, they were spared a death. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. You truly are righteous lords. Gong Guokai knelt on the ground, kowtowing several times to Peng Gu, unable to express his excitement, using the simplest way to show his gratitude. Peng Gu helped Gong Guokai up, explaining, "Stand up. I'm just executing orders. If you want to thank someone, thank Commander Su." Yes, I should thank Commander Su. When I get back I will build a shrine for Commander Su, thanking him for saving and helping us Chinese in Jawa. Gong Guokai changed his tone, then looked around at the Jeka Group soldiers who were retreating, cautiously saying, "Sir, are you returning to Southeast Asia? We want to go with you." Peng Gu paused, realizing the other misunderstood, smiled. "No, we're not going back, because here is our territory now." Ah! Gong Guokai froze for a few seconds. He was kept at the Customs General Administration for days, unaware of the outside situation, let alone that Jeka Group had launched large-scale attacks on Jawa, thinking they had just sent a special force to surprise the Customs General Administration, saving them and withdrawing afterward. Not just Customs General Administration. Now Ceylon City is under our control. In the future, the whole of Jawa will be dominated by our Jeka Group. Peng Gu's words made Gong Guokai's mind burn like a CPU, taking a while to grasp the meaning. Thus, due to his situation, it became the catalyst for Jeka Group's war against Jawa, giving Gong Guokai a wonderful sense of participating in history. "All right, I'll head over now." Peng Gu received messages from inside Ceylon City. After listening for a bit, his face turned stern, shouting to the soldiers present, "Boys, let's move, head to Ceylon City, where more crimes await us to purge. Let's go." Yes. In unison, the Jeka Group soldiers left the Customs General Administration, heading toward Ceylon City, continuing their purge mission. The purge operation by the Javanese Customs General Administration was just the beginning, as the Jeka Group rapidly expanded its area to encompass Ceylon City and surrounding regions. Due to the Customs General Administration's capture of Gong Guokai and the seizure of Chinese factories, Ceylon City emulated this and large-scale anti-Chinese riots ensued. The rioters purposefully attacked, vandalized, looted, and set fire to Chinese people, leaving many Chinese shops and companies looted clean and burned down. Chinese people frequently suffered heinous crimes and various tragedies emerged one after another. Regarding all this, the police of Jawa country were indifferent, allowing the expansion of violence, and in public, continuously downplayed and covered up the riots, turning a blind eye to the criminal rioters. Their inaction was one of the key factors that led the Jeka Group to intervene. When the Jeka Group entered Ceylon City, traces of several days of rioting remained visible everywhere. There were destroyed Chinese shops everywhere, and some Chinese corpses were still hanging on the walls, covered with insulting words. If Jawa country were to handle all this, they would only muddle through and avoid the important issues, at most handing over a few scapegoats to calm things down. However, the arrival of the Jeka Group changed everything. After the Jeka Group troops entered the city, they imposed a full citywide lockdown on Ceylon, prohibiting anyone from going out or hitting the streets. Subsequently, the Jeka Group occupied various police stations, traffic bureaus, and other agencies in Ceylon City, extracting recent documents and street camera footage for a thorough investigation of the riots. After gathering some evidence, the Jeka Group commenced their actions. At a high-rise in Ceylon City, a Jeka Group infantry squad entered under the guidance of a local guide. Arriving on the 12th floor by elevator, the elevator door opened, and the soldiers of the Jeka Group appeared in front of a tightly closed door. "Open the door," checking the water meter. The squad leader gave the guide a signal, and the guide knocked nervously on the door and called out. "Ha! What water meter check at this time?" A man's impatient voice came from inside, footsteps approaching the door. The man observed through the peephole, didn't see the soldiers standing against the wall on both sides, and was about to open the door when another female voice sounded inside. "Honey, something's wrong. There's a lockdown now. Why would anyone come to check the water meter?" The moment this voice emerged, the man inside became alarmed. "Right. Who's outside? What exactly are you here for?" "Force entry." The squad leader gave direct orders to the soldiers. 2 soldiers brought a specialized battering ram and heavily struck the door lock. After several hits, the lock mechanism was damaged and deformed, and the door burst open. "Looking for death. Where's my knife?" "Oh! Help! Help!" Inside, the man cursed and the woman screamed. The male owner had just retrieved a machete, but upon seeing the intruders were fully armed soldiers aiming guns at him, he was dumbstruck. A machete couldn't compete against a dozen guns. This wasn't a movie scene, and his grip on the machete faltered. It clattered to the ground. After a moment, the inside became quiet. 1 man and 1 woman were already restrained by Jeka Group soldiers and handcuffed. The squad leader of the Jeka Group surveyed the room, opened a drawer, and found a significant amount of blood-stained gold and silver jewelry. Obviously unknown origins, blood-stained contraband. In several places inside the room, there were condiments and traditional crafts typically used by Chinese people. The squad leader's gaze grew colder as he reviewed their investigation results. The male owner of this house participated in the anti-Chinese riots, colluded with other rioters, wielding machetes and shotguns to invade the Chinese community, robbing several households. Not only robbing, but they also killed people. These were documented by the Ceylon City Police, but although they knew who the criminals were, there was no intention to arrest them. "Take them away." The squad leader snorted coldly and kicked the man on the ground hard. "What about this woman?" a Jeka Group soldier inquired. "Knowing and concealing, assisting in crime. She's guilty too. Take her away." Without the slightest hesitation, the squad leader ordered to take her along. The faces of the man and woman on the ground were ashen. Realizing from the Jeka Group soldiers' uniform that they had come because of the riots they participated in. "What are you doing? What are you doing? This is Jawa country. I am a citizen of Jawa country. What right do you have to arrest me?" The male owner resisted and struggled, not knowing what Jeka Group intended to do with him, but it was certainly not good. "That's right. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to post your actions online. Let the world see the atrocities of your Jeka Group. You know what you've done, with the police of Jawa country unwilling and afraid to handle it. Our Jeka Group will take care of it. In our Jeka Group, your identity from Jawa country means nothing because soon, even your Jawa country will be occupied by us." The squad leader slapped the man's face, making it swell, then gave the woman a few slaps to forcibly silence her. "Take them away to the interrogation room. Let's see how long he can keep up his tough talk." The squad leader gave them a cold glance. The Jeka Group was the military, not police. Their methods of interrogating prisoners were not as gentle as the police, only knowing how to interrogate captives that regular people couldn't withstand. As they were taken out of the room, curious heads popped out of nearby houses to watch. Once they saw Jeka Group soldiers, they quickly shut their doors, fearing the trouble would spread to them. However, as they reached downstairs, a crowd had gathered. They were relatives of those being arrested, having received a call from neighbors and lived nearby. They ran over to block the path of Jeka Group soldiers. "Release them. What is your Jeka Group doing? Quickly, let my son go. My son is a kind person, a good student from childhood, never had conflicts with anyone. The neighbors can testify. I've recorded a video. If you don't want me to put it online, release them quickly." These people blocked the road, loudly protesting against Jeka Group's arrests, pressing forward step by step. "Retreat, or bear the consequences." Jeka Group soldiers disengaged their rifle safety and aimed at these people. "Don't be afraid. They wouldn't dare shoot." The people kept shouting, but the next second, a rain of bullets swept over them. turning all protests into screams and cries. In seconds, the blockade lay down, resolving the matter at lightning speed. These people, always so brave. The squad leader changed the rifle magazine, shaking his head silently at the horrific scene on the ground, and took the captives away from the site again. Jekka Group's actions were swift and without hesitation. Mobilizing troops, the city of Ceylon was subjected to a thorough crackdown on criminals involved in the riots. Every day, people were taken from their homes, and this process was naturally not smooth. At this point, Jekka Group's force came into play. Words couldn't convey. Bullets would speak for Jekka Group. Those arrested were brought into Jekka Group's military for interrogation. With little pressure, they divulged all they knew, confessing their crimes and implicating accomplices. With these denunciations, Jekka Group continued deploying soldiers to capture, bringing back individuals for interrogation and capture again, operating with exceptional efficiency. At that moment, the entire city of Ceylon was filled with tension, the atmosphere of fear permeating every corner. When Jekka Group soldiers went out for arrests, leading them were white-helmeted military police. Every occurrence involved encounters, earning them the name White Devils by Ceylon's people, sinking the city into a state of white terror instigated by Jekka Group. This arrest operation lasted approximately a week, and nearly all rioters involved in the anti-Chinese riots, including Ceylon City Police who allowed the rioters free rein, were captured and brought to justice by Jekka Group. Those not found in Ceylon City entered Jekka Group's capture and wanted list. In the future, whenever Jekka Group occupies a city in Jawa, it will pursue those on the list. Even if they escape abroad, Jekka Group's warrant remains effective, not needing deploying genetic warriors. With Jekka Group's pervasive blood gold market and smuggling network globally, these industries are black and gray, run by individuals straddling both sides. Once Jekka Group issues a warrant, disposing of an ordinary person becomes effortless. After completing the arrests in Ceylon City, on June 10th, Jekka Group publicly executed all rioters involved in the chaos at the largest central square in Ceylon City. On-site viewers included some surviving Chinese and a large number of Javanese. Accompanied by the sound of gunfire, these rioters who once caused chaos in Ceylon City were sanctioned by the more ruthless and brutal Jekka Group, with bullets taking their lives. As the saying goes, the wicked are grinded by the wicked. Jekka Group, fearless to challenge even beautiful country's blue star dominator. These rioters only relied on numbers to bully the unarmed civilians. Their fate was sealed upon encountering Jekka Group. Once the executions were complete, Ceylon City's Central Park was akin to a river of blood, a mountain of corpses. Over 10,000 rioters was executed by Jekka Group, leaving the square's surroundings in silence. The Javanese present were all intimidated, fearful of Jekka Group's winter-like brutal methods, their eyes dodging as they gazed at Jekka Group soldiers, afraid to meet their gaze. This was the desired outcome for Jekka Group. In this country of Jawa with anti-Chinese tendencies, for Jekka Group to establish dominance, they must ruthlessly kill a batch of people. Otherwise, lacking fear towards the Chinese, lacking fear towards Jekka Group, unaware of the consequences of provoking Jekka Group, they might incite a second or fourth anti-Chinese incident in the future. Only blood and death would make them deeply understand the consequences before acting, etching the lesson into their genes for eternity to remember. Jekka Group committed atrocious crimes in Ceylon City, intolerable to morality. According to our investigation and Jekka Group's release data, from June 5th to 10th, Jekka Group's army executed a total of 12,039 people in Ceylon City. This is a lamentable humanity state, humans constantly self-cannibalizing. It's urged for Jekka Group and Jawa to end bilateral conflicts soon. Jekka Group finally revealed its ferocious nature. If they can harm ordinary people in Ceylon City today, they can wreak on civilians of other countries tomorrow. On June 10th, the Jekka Group proactively announced its execution list. At the top of this list, there was a line in large letters as a title: "Anyone who offends the strong Han, even if far away, must be punished." The announcement of this execution list immediately caused a huge wave of public opinion worldwide. Western media once again began to exaggerate the threat of the Jekka Group, claiming that if we don't speak up for the people of Ceylon City today, when the executioner's knife falls on our necks, no one will speak up for us either. It was extremely double standard, as these Western media chose to turn a blind eye to the identities of the thugs on the execution list. During the riots in Ceylon City, they weren't so eager to unanimously oppose it. When it was Jekka Group's turn to take action against the thugs, these Western media were in an uproar, unanimously condemning the atrocities of Jekka Group. Meanwhile, the discussions online were even more intense. "I am a Chinese from Johor. Thank you Jekka Group for what you have done. You are doing great. Good killing, Jekka Group finally stood up for us Chinese. This should teach those Javanese beasts that Chinese are not to be bullied. Jekka Group is too cruel. This is outright anti-human behavior, and the crime is unforgivable. That's right, the people of Ceylon City are so innocent, they are civilians, yet Jekka Group sent troops against them. Is there any humanity left? This is indeed an extremely evil terrorist force. Haha! Aren't those Chinese in Ceylon City pitiful? Why didn't you speak up for them then?" Those listed for execution in Ceylon City were all thugs involved in the riots. They completely deserve to die. If they count as innocent civilians, what about the tragically killed Chinese? Even so, Jekka Group's actions were too severe. There was no need to be so brutal. Many of them didn't deserve to die. You could choose imprisonment or forced labor as punishment. Why choose execution? Those are all living lives. Can't you give them a chance to reform, not an ounce of mercy? What I hate most is people like the one above, who choose to ignore when bad guys bully others, but require mercy when good people step in to help. What, are good people supposed to be held at gunpoint? On the internet, people were divided into two camps, arguing endlessly. Despite the dirt thrown by Western media, the eyes of the masses are sharp as ever. It wasn't long ago that the violence against Chinese in Ceylon City occurred. While the internet may not have a memory, people haven't forgotten so easily. Therefore, the actions of Jekka Group have still garnered strong support from many backers. This was especially true for the Chinese, who were immensely encouraged and relieved, as Jekka Group did what they wanted but couldn't do, severely punishing the arrogance of those thugs and making them understand that the country of Jawa is not a place where they can do as they please. Actually, the execution incident in Ceylon City shocked Jawa the most. The Jekka Group completed a round of cleansing right under their noses in Ceylon City. All of a sudden, public opinion in Jawa country was boiling over. Demands to severely punish Jekka Group were rising one after another. They couldn't tolerate what Jekka Group did to their compatriots. Even if their compatriots had made some small mistakes, couldn't things be resolved properly? More people thought about it. If their own country were occupied by Jekka Group, would they have to live in the white terror orchestrated by Jekka Group in the future in constant fear? The protest voices of the people in Jawa country were loud, and the government of Jawa country also immediately issued a statement condemning the malign acts of Jekka Group. But in reality, the Javanese army continued to suffer defeat after defeat facing the army of Jekka Group. When the landing forces landed in Ceylon City, opening a breakthrough, in just a few days, Jekka Group transported 100,000 troops onto Javanese soil. The distance between the two sides was very close, only separated by the Malacca Strait, so Jekka Group, after occupying Ceylon City, had basically no logistical pressure. As soon as the 100,000 troops landed, they immediately began attacking and capturing land. One by one, the armies of Jekka Group set out from Ceylon City, launching a fierce offensive towards the hinterland of Jawa country. In the sky, Magic Bird fighters provided continuous air raids. At sea, Devourer-class deep-diving cruisers provided missile support, and on the ground, Steel Camp genetic soldiers and Spider main battle mechas pushed the advance of Jekka Group with unstoppable force. Those Javanese armies facing the might of Jekka Group were nearly collapsing at the first encounter. Wherever Jekka Group passed, they were either capturing prisoners or on the way to capturing them. There were very few instances of desperate resistance following the landing. Jawa country, known as a thousand-island country, has a population of over 200 million nearing 300 million, yet modern warfare is no longer merely about manpower, and even if it were, the national power and disorganized structure of Jawa could not muster many cannon fodder armies. Faced with the advance of Jekka Group, Jawa country had no solution. They lacked high technology to oppose Jekka Group and could only focus on creating a large army in an attempt to delay the pace of Jekka Group. However, the tactic of human waves is not for everyone. It requires a very high level of grassroots organizational ability. Otherwise, even if you gather people, disorganization and chaos can easily disrupt your own formation instead of increasing combat strength. Jawa country was exactly like this. The cannon fodder armies they managed to create only had a few days of military training, and when they encountered the fierce and ruthless troops of Jeka group, they almost surrendered at the sight or collapsed on their own halfway, scattering and fleeing. This action not only did not help Jawa country or delay the advances of the army of Jeka group, but also depleted the limited ammunition reserves of Jawa country, making it harder for the regular army to continue, with national land falling into foreign hands every day. By June 25th, the ground forces of Jeka group had already reached the outskirts of the capital of Jawa country, Yamagata. The armed operation initiated by Jeka group to protect overseas Chinese had reached its most critical moment. In less than a month, the Jeka group, in order to solve the situation in Jawa country, successively occupied several ports, including Ceylon City, with a landing force of up to 300,000 troops. Marching eastward and westward, most of Jawa country's territory is now under the iron hoof of the Jeka group. The remaining lands are basically some remote overseas islands. During the occupation process, the Jeka group also implemented the most stringent war order in history. After occupying most of Jawa country, the Jeka group began its cleansing. In the last century, the Chinese actually held most of Jawa country's wealth. At that time, the Chinese were the wealthy class here, controlling the economic discourse of Jawa country. Compared to the laziness and stupidity of the Javanese, the Chinese who ventured overseas were often smarter and more industrious, accumulating wealth over the years through establishing orchards, rubber plantations, advanced farming techniques, and business acumen, leading to a gradually affluent life. But because the Chinese population was relatively low, even though the number of Javanese was high, they did not live as well as the Chinese families, leading to a simmering discontent. This resulted in plundering against the Chinese. In past riots, Chinese wealth became the primary target of the Javanese, and the wealth that the Chinese had accumulated over years of operations in Jawa country was looted, with many losing their lives in those disturbances. Today, many wealthy and powerful Javanese have the blood of the Chinese on their hands. Their industries and wealth were plundered from past unrests, making them rich overnight. This is why there is resistance to the entry of the Jeka group into Jawa. It is one of the reasons. Su Jie of the Jeka group is Chinese, and they fear that the arrival of the Jeka group will hold them accountable in the fall. However, their fear did not prevent the arrival of the Jeka group. The Jeka group still came to this land, and this time not with wealth, but with guns and death. On June 15th, the Jeka group began its liquidation. A large number of armed Jeka group soldiers stormed the homes of wealthy Javanese merchants and dignitaries. Who are you? In East Java province, within the estate of the most famous and wealthiest merchant locally, the arrival of a group of uninvited guests broke the peace. Several military vehicles crashed open the estate's iron gate, and amidst the screeching brakes, a large number of armed Jeka group soldiers jumped out. Seeing this scene, the security guards inside the estate quickly raised their hands, while the servants screamed in fear. "Everyone put your hands behind your head and squat down." Crisp gunshots rang out, and an officer raised his pistol to fire a warning shot into the air, intimidating the scene, and then began searching the entire estate. One by one, Jeka group soldiers walked across the neatly trimmed lawn, passing through gardens filled with various rare flowers and plants, completing their capture mission. Soon after, a group of men and women of all ages was brought out. These pampered merchant families could not resist the fierce soldier wolves. "Nudensa, right?" The officer, holding a photo, walked up to a man. "I'm willing to give money. I'm willing to, however much you want, as long as you let my family go." Nudensa quickly spoke up, thinking the Jeka group was here for his wealth, to squeeze a contribution from these merchants. "Foolish. Capturing you means your money becomes ours, the Jeka group." The officer sneered, aggravating Nudensa. "I am the richest man in East Java province, knowing many important figures. If you don't want trouble, you better retreat quickly." Seeing the soft approach was ineffective, Nudensa tried another tactic. "Look at this photo, and you will understand why we are looking for you." The officer flipped the photo in his hand, showing it to Nudensa. In the photo, a man stands in front of a burning mansion, holding a bloody machete in his right hand and a pile of gold and silver jewelry in his left arm. His face and clothes stained with blood not yet dried, surrounded by several Chinese corpses, smiling brightly. The man's appearance in the photo bore a 90% resemblance to Nudensa. It was him in his younger days. Seeing the photo, Nudensa trembled all over, his eyes terrified. The officer sneered coldly. "Now, do you know why we are looking for you? Need me to help you remember what you did in your youth?" I. Nudensa's lips trembled, and seeing the photo, his memory rushed back decades. Back then, he was just a penniless hooligan, idling away his time aimlessly on the streets and alleys. Until participating in that riot through plundering, he acquired a large sum of gold and silver jewelry as his starting capital, gradually developing thereafter. This photo was taken by his friend at the time, and back then, the Javanese did not see their actions as crimes but as something worth boasting about. The more lives one had taken, the more they were revered. The dusty memory was opened. If not for Jekka Group's arrival today, Nudensa might have forgotten the incident himself. "It seems you remember. There's no need for me to help you recall. The things you did back then were not without consequence. History will remember your crimes, and now history has brought our Jekka Group to your doorstep. It's time for you to wash your necks clean and atone for your sins in hell." The officer from the Jekka Group retracted the photo. It was one of the favorable pieces of evidence proving the opponent's guilt and must not be lost. No, wrong. That was so many years ago. The statute of limitations in our Jawa is only 25 years. It's long past the expiration date. How can the Jekka Group do this? "You can't touch me." Nudensa screamed in utter panic, originally thinking that the Jekka Group was only here to squeeze him for money. He was prepared to bleed a bit and use some money to appease this powerful force. But who knew the Jekka Group wasn't here for money, but to take his life? What expiration date? That's your Jawa country's law. Our Jekka Group doesn't recognize it. The officer waved a large hand, and the soldiers stepped forward, grabbing Nudensa and stuffing him into a military vehicle. "Daddy! You lousy soldiers! Dare to capture my daddy! Do you know who my daddy is? I will have someone kill you, chop you up, and feed you to the dogs." Husband, what's going on? Woo-woo, don't scare me. It's none of my business. It has nothing to do with me. I'm innocent." Nudensa's family witnessed this scene, each showing different emotions. Some were angry, some fearful, some eager to dissociate themselves. "Don't worry, we'll take you all together. A family should stay united. Whether you're guilty or not, it's up to our Jekka Group to decide." The officer from the Jekka Group chuckled, as soldiers stepped forward one by one, tying up Nudensa's family amidst their struggles and tossing them onto a military truck. At this point, they finally understood what regret and fear meant, but it was already too late. "Take everyone away. Leave a squad of soldiers here to hold the line, wait for other units to take over, and the rest will go with me to the next target." The officer got into a military jeep, leading the team to continue to the next target. In Jawa, currently 1% of families control 75% of the country's wealth, with much of the assets coming from the hands of the Chinese. The actions of the Jekka Group were swift and decisive, directly targeting this group of people in Jawa. In the past, they achieved wealth transfer and class elevation through crimes against the Chinese, but never expected that karma would descend on their heads decades later. Even at the time of their arrest, many people could hardly believe that the Jekka Group had actually dug up old accounts from decades ago, not seeking to stabilize these big figures, using them to solidify their rule in Jawa, but instead persecuting these cornerstones and pillars of the Jawa country, something they could never comprehend. But this is exactly what the Jekka Group did, and they did it openly without any intention of covering it up, directly using the military. Now the elites and vested interests in Jawa country are anxious. Many of them want to flee, but the sea has been completely blockaded by the Jekka Group. The air superiority is firmly in the Jekka Group's control. Any aircraft appearing in Jawa country's airspace without the Jekka Group's permission will be shot down. With no hope of escape, faced with the Jekka Group's purge, these businessmen and elites of Jawa naturally resist and struggle. Those vested interests who have not yet been captured are frantically contacting everyone they can, trying to secure their lives, even inciting the public, lavishly spending money to form the so-called Self-Defense National Defense Army to resist the Jekka Group's invasion. However, even the Jekka Group does not give face to the beautiful country president, repeatedly defying them head-on. Can their network be greater than the beautiful country president's? Wufen Province, thousands of Self-Defense National Defense Army troops were stationed at the position. Their position was a high-end villa area, where only the elite of Jawa country resided. The Self-Defense National Defense Army was also recruited by them at high salaries, not only hiring personnel but also acquiring many weapons to arm themselves. It should be known that as the Jekka Group advances into the heart of Jawa country, even the regular army is short on weapons and ammunition. Yet, this Self-Defense National Defense Army's weapons are so well equipped, even better than the regular armies. It can be imagined how strong the network of this high-end villa area is. Without some ability, they couldn't have acquired so many scarce weapons. However, while they could obtain light weapons, they couldn't manage heavy weapons. In fact, even if they somehow had tanks and artillery, these Self-Defense National Defense Army troops wouldn't know how to use them. This isn't the same as rifles, which they can get the hang of in a few days. Accuracy is another matter. Buzz buzz. A unit of the Jekka Group drove up the road in the high-end villa area. There were not many people, only over 100, with armored personnel carriers and the rest in trucks. Roadblocks and guard posts were set up on the road leading to the villa area, with several Self-Defense National Defense Army troops on guard there. When they saw the convoy of the Jekka Group, their eyes widened in shock, and without another word, they turned and ran. Only one who had just come out of the bathroom, reacting slower, did not escape. Seeing the soldiers of the Jekka Group, he swallowed nervously, listening to the message from the Self-Defense National Defense Army captain over the radio, and reluctantly said, "Why you stop? You're not welcome here in our Jekka Group. If you come closer, we'll open fire." After speaking, facing the guns aimed at him, he burst into tears. "The captain told me to say it. Don't kill me. I surrender." The captain leading the Jekka Group used a drone to observe the high-end villa area, discovering thousands of so-called Self-Defense National Defense Army troops, and after learning some information from the captive, couldn't help but shake his head. Do these people really understand what war is about? The company commander was speechless, but didn't hold back at all in action, turning to order. "Report the enemy coordinates. Have the fighter jets come over for a round of bombing. We'll follow up shortly." Roger. Currently in contact with the Rear B-12 Command Dispatch Center. Soon, the message was relayed back to the Rear Battlefield Command, and a Magic Bird fighter from the Jekka Group, which was on standby for cruising, changed direction, arriving here 8 minutes later. According to instructions from satellites and ground forces, 2 500-kilogram precision-guided bombs detached from the Magic Bird fighter's underbelly. Their tail fins opened like a parachute, gliding downwards. Boom! Boom! 2 loud explosions erupted, with the explosive charge of over 200 kilograms in each 500-kilogram air bomb. Such precision-guided bombs could overturn and destroy 70-ton tanks within 30 meters and leave nothing alive within 100 meters. The drop of these 2 bombs directly created 2 deep pits in the ground. The Self-Defense National Defense Army, due to a lack of tactical proficiency, naturally gathered together for a sense of security. But this instinctive behavior directly resulted in hundreds being sent away by the 2 air bombs, dying very peacefully, either dismembered in the explosion, killed by the shockwave, or turned into sieve by shrapnel and steel balls. The immense power left the Self-Defense National Defense Army dumbfounded. Those lucky enough to survive had their eyes wide open, mouths agape. Many screamed in breakdown, but could hear nothing, their ears temporarily deafened by the explosion. Before they had time to recover from the explosion, the ground forces of the Jekka Group arrived. The machine guns mounted on the armored vehicles went bang bang bang, tearing human bodies to pieces, blood and severed limbs scattered everywhere. The infantry of the Jekka Group, though few in number, advanced along the road. Their more elite combat skills and equipment broke the Self-Defense National Defense Army as soon as they opened fire. Everyone was kneeling in surrender. They were only risking their lives for money and had no resolve to fight to the death. Originally, the air bombs had already shattered them mentally, but because the explosion had left their minds in chaos, they hadn't had time to react. Seeing the Jeka Group soldiers rushing up now, how could they muster the courage to resist? They dropped their weapons as fast as possible and surrendered. Many in the Self-Defense National Defense Army were cursing the wealthy merchants who recruited them. These people didn't say they'd be bombed by planes. If it had been made clear, no amount of money would have brought them here. What use is money if you're dead? In this way, the Jeka Group easily wiped out this self-defense militia of over 1,000 people. The rest was straightforward. The dignitaries and wealthy merchants in the Villa district couldn't escape the Jeka Group's capture, being handcuffed and taken away by them. Since they formed the Self-Defense National Defense Army, they are in for an additional crime, awaiting an even more miserable fate. These dignitaries attempted to protect themselves with self-formed militias, only to prove it a whimsical act. Even their regular army was easily crushed by the Jeka Group, let alone these riffraff cannon fodder. Besides forming militias, these dignitaries also incited the local populace, using local dissatisfaction with the Jeka Group to trouble them, like sabotaging roads. At this point, the Jeka Group's methods were also simple and brutal, arresting the Javanese daring to cause trouble on charges of attacking the military, capturing a batch and executing a batch, making the list public, quickly intimidating the rest. How long this intimidation will last is unknown, but at least the Jeka Group's advancement won't be hindered. June 28th, outside Yogyakarta City. This capital of the Java city is the last place in the Jawa country still resisting. It's not that the resistance forces here are strong, but that the Jeka Group is slowly tightening the noose. If they conquered Yogyakarta City quickly, the Jeka Group would have a hard time using the guise of armed protection to capture all opposition. After settling accounts with the Jawa country's elites, the Jeka Group's main forces have also arrived at Yogyakarta City. A total of 150,000 troops have surrounded Yogyakarta City tightly, with storm clouds of war looming. Inside Yogyakarta City, under the command of the Jawa country government, less than 50,000 regular soldiers remain, with the rest being hastily recruited, barely trained new soldiers, often referred to as cannon fodder, numbering over 200,000. But the numbers don't help. Many new soldiers don't even have guns, as many weapons have been allocated to the Self-Defense National Defense Army by the quartermasters, leaving the government's new recruits without weapons. In such a situation, faced with the Jeka Group's heavy siege, their fate is already sealed. After a short 3-day rest, waiting for logistics to catch up, on July 1st, the Jeka Group officially launched its attack on Yogyakarta City, marking the final assault on the Jawa country. The sound of cannon fire and gunshots spread over Southeast Asia's largest city, reminding them of the fear brought by the Jeka Group. Yogyakarta City, on Gushi Street. A half-battalion of Jawa country troops is stationed on this street, with a small portion being regular soldiers, but most are new recruits. Jeka Group has been waiting outside for 2 days. Won't they launch an attack, considering the international pressure? We know this environment well. If Jeka Group dares to come in, we'll make sure they don't come out alive. Hold Yogyakarta City. As long as we endure until the beautiful country steps in, it will be the Jeka Group's downfall. Our Jawa country must never become a vassal of the Jeka Group. For the homeland, I am willing to sacrifice my life. Jeka Group isn't that formidable. As long as we stand united, they won't conquer us. We must not let them break into Yogyakarta City. My parents were involved in past riots against the Chinese. If Jeka Group enters, my parents will face retribution. I'll put my life on the line to stop them. Inside the building, new recruits of the Jawa country discuss among themselves. Not having experienced the brutalities of war, they still have beautiful dreams for the future, full of confidence. Once a Dutch colony and later conquered by Japan, Jawa holds its head high in these recruits' words. Shut up, rookies. Keep quiet. If Jeka Group were as weak as you say, you wouldn't be here. You'd be in Siam, in Chan country, in front of the Jeka Group headquarters building in Mande City. A regular soldier of the Jawa country felt they were too noisy and shouted angrily, instantly silencing the room. Squad leader Babu, Is the Jekka group really that terrifying? A new recruit cautiously asked, looking at the irritated regular soldier. Nonsense otherwise. The Jawa regular soldier was about to speak when suddenly a loud explosion not far off interrupted him, his expression turning tense. Through the window, a 7-story building was seen hit by a bomb, collapsing in the explosion with flames shooting skyward. A platoon stationed there was naturally wiped out. Jekka group has launched an attack. The Jawa regular soldier shouted, and the rookies witnessing this scene inside were left with their scalps tingling and legs going soft. More missiles and shells crashed down, the deafening explosions causing the Jawa soldiers' hearts to tremble with fear, many wetting their pants, and some going into a panic-driven frenzy, running and screaming chaotically. After half an hour, the bombardment ceased. Many buildings on Gushi Street had collapsed under the bombardment, leaving ruins everywhere. The half-battalion stationed here suffered heavy casualties, with many new recruits who once boasted grand words now lying as cold corpses, some so shattered in the explosion that not even a palm-sized piece of their body could be found intact. Before the shell-shocked Jawa soldiers could reach their defensive positions, the whir of rotors filled the air. A squad of helicopters arrived over Gushi Street, hovering over the buildings. As the helicopter doors opened, figures jumped down from a height of several meters. Their entire bodies were covered in flowing silver armor, standing about 2.5 meters tall. Their bodies encased head to toe in silver plating that shimmered with a cold metallic sheen under the sunlight, resembling future warriors intertwining machinery and biology. These were naturally the genetic warriors of the steel camp, donning their second-generation life-breeding equipment, entering this urban battlefield perfect for them. Clear this area. Miao Luan issued the combat order through his earpiece, striding to the edge of the rooftop with heavy steps. The air filled with the scent of gunpowder and blood. Looking down from the rooftop, remnants of buildings lay scattered everywhere, with bare steel and scattered concrete blocks, fires raging and panicked Jawa soldiers running amok. Surveying the battlefield environment, Miao Luan's arms flowed like mercury, forming 2 silver-white blades, his face behind the mask cold and fierce. His body leapt forward, sharp roots growing from his soles, piercing into the wall, allowing him to run down along the outer wall of the high-rise. Bang! When he reached the 12th floor, Miao Luan suddenly smashed through the glass and jumped in. There were 5 Javan soldiers on this floor, and upon seeing Miao Luan suddenly bursting in, they hadn't even had a chance to raise their guns or surrender before feeling a pain in their necks, quickly losing consciousness. Heads rolled from their necks, and Miao Luan's expression remained calm, as if he were merely slaughtering pigs or dogs, not even worth his concern. Feeling the situation inside the building, Miao Luan's large ears twitched sensitively, his throat vibrating slightly, emitting a deep, inaudible sound wave. Having fused with the purple light bat gene, he possessed a super-strong biological radar, capable of locating enemies through ultrasound. Although this ability isn't amplified like strength, agility, and defense by second-generation life-breeding equipment, as an efficient reconnaissance and early warning method, it allows Miao Luan to be even more adept on the battlefield, especially in complex urban terrains, which is like heaven for Miao Luan. Picking up several rifles from the ground, Miao Luan's shoulder split to reveal a mercury arm to hold them. Then he continued walking down the stairwell along the corridor. Occasionally, gunfire and screams could be heard from certain floors within the building, but soon, everything would return to silence. By the time Miao Luan walked out from the first floor, all the Javan soldiers in the entire building had been completely slaughtered by him. And Miao Luan's gaze turned to another tall building, continuing to walk towards it. Starting from July 1st, Jekka Group's offensive was like pouring oil on a blazing fire. Amidst the fear and trembling of the Javan soldiers in Yagata City, missiles accurately launched pinpoint explosions, destroying all military facilities and defense posts. Then continued to bomb, continued to bomb, continued to bomb, continued to bomb. Constantly, shells, bombs, and missiles rained down into Yagata City, with planes, cannons, and missiles taking turns to attack all suspicious targets, destroying Jawa country's military resistance forces. Jekka Group is not just any underdog army. They are wealthy, and during their years of occupation in Southeast Asia, arms manufacturing and stockpiling never ceased. Other countries have laid down their horses and closed their production lines, as military industry manufacturing is quite literally like pouring money down the drain. But JECA Group's environment, with external Western pursuit and blockade, and internally constant unrest on Southeast Asia daring even to attempt separating from JECA Group's control, encourages ambitious figures to seek so-called independence. All of this forces JECA Group to maintain absolute military superiority, as JECA Group's hegemony is also built upon absolute military power. Therefore, JECA Group's war efforts never slowed, with the military industry operating at maximum capacity, and a significant portion of the wealth JECA Group acquired flowed into the military industry, as if suffering from firepower inadequacy phobia, with tanks, fighter jets, and cannons rolling off the line daily, and genetic warriors being constantly selected and trained, with ammunition reserves continuously produced according to wartime standards, stored in underground armories across Chan country. Adequate ammunition reserves and comprehensive military production are what give JECA Group the confidence to bomb extensively. JECA Group's artillery preparation continued for a week, with dense explosions occurring inside and outside Yagata City daily. Ammunition stockpile insufficient? Directly ship them by sea anyway. Sea control is in JECA Group's hands, safe and convenient, then continue bombing. Artillery lifespan reached? Directly replace with new artillery, then continue bombing. A week later, the Javanese army in Yagata City had been bombed to smithereens, and people were dazed from the JECA Group's bombing. Entire regular units had almost been dismantled, as Javan soldiers gathering together made them easy targets to be bombed. Holding intelligence advantages with satellites, high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft, drones, and I-worms in a multi-layered reconnaissance system, JECA Group had a huge advantage in intelligence. Many Javanese army units were dead or injured, with many more directly shedding their uniforms and choosing to become deserters. At this time, Yagata City was almost within grasp for JECA Group, ready to be flattened with heavy armored tank units, or slowly cleaned out with airborne special forces. JECA Group chose the latter because they were in no rush to end the war. The longer the fight, the more time JECA Group had for training troops, and using this as an excuse to legitimize and broaden their domestic cleansing in Jawa country. Every day, JECA Group proceeded methodically, gradually occupying district by district in Yagata, just like clocking in for work, bombing then deploying the steel camp to clear out remaining enemies. The progress may not have been fast, but any district taken by JECA Group had never been retaken by the Javanese army even once. Even without sending vast ground forces into Yagata, relying solely on bombardment and genetic warriors, Yagata was already on the brink of falling. Under this steady advance, by July 19th, large parts of Yagata had already been occupied by JECA Group. In the center of Yagata City, inside an underground command room, the cannon fire roared like thunder, continually crashing down. Wei Yin Man held a phone, with dust trembling incessantly from the bombardment overhead, and the ripples in the glass of water causing his body to stiffen, his expression grim. What? The 3rd Brigade wants reinforcements. Tell Marugu to hold their ground, even if it's down to the last man they must hold. Reinforcements from the beautiful country will arrive soon. How soon? Tomorrow. Tomorrow the beautiful country will send troops. Wei Yin Man locked himself alone in the underground command room, taking call after call for aid, but his answer was always the same: to trust the beautiful country, for the beautiful country would deploy troops soon. But in actuality, even the lowest-ranking cannon fodder infantry of Jawa country no longer held any hope for the beautiful country. Because JECA Group had besieged Yagata City for over half a month, wantonly ravaging Southeast Asia's largest city. If the beautiful country really intended to send reinforcements, their heavenly soldiers and generals would have been here long ago, instead of still lingering in the Indian Ocean. The reason Wei Yin Man kept insisting on this was because it was his only belief keeping him steadfast till now. It was like a compulsive gambler, who had bet everything, believing that the beautiful country was his only chance to turn the tides, unwilling to leave the gambling table. Bang! The command room door was forcibly pushed open, and a large crowd rushed in, all high-ranking officials and political figures from within Jawa country. Mr. President, let's surrender. Yes, we can't stop the Jekka group, and if we don't surrender now, we won't have another chance. Those genetic warriors are too ruthless. Our soldiers are no match for them. The high-ranking officials surrounded Wei Yin Man, their tones urgent, faces filled with fear, chattering incessantly. Listening to the chaotic arguing, Wei Yin Man glared at those around him, hysterically shouting, "You cowards! Think about what the Jekka group did in Ceylon City. They clearly want to destroy us, and now we can only wait for the beautiful country's reinforcements. We haven't lost yet." In fact, Wei Yin Man had also reached out to the Jekka group for negotiations and a possible surrender, but the Jekka group outright rejected him. At the mention of those three words, beautiful country, the expressions of the high-ranking officials worsened. Beautiful country, are you still dreaming? They've long abandoned us. We are mere pawns. Can't you see that? I told you not to provoke the Chinese, not to anger the Jekka group, but you just wouldn't listen. It's all your stubbornness that led to this situation. You are a traitor to our nation. Hand him over to the Jekka group. His death will definitely appease the Jekka group's wrath, and we can all survive. The next moment, the tone of these officials completely changed, their eyes cold as they stared at Wei Yin Man. What do you intend to do? Realizing the premeditated betrayal, Wei Yin Man's face changed drastically as he shouted, "Guards? Where are the guards? There's a rebellion." However, the guards stationed at the door stood idly by, instead silently aligning themselves behind the high officials, clearly indicating that they, too, did not wish to continue waging a war doomed to fail. You dare make peace with the Jekka group, you will regret this, you will definitely regret this. Wei Yin Man watched as they closed in on him, retreating continuously until cornered with no way out. Leaving you alive is the most regretful decision. Rest in peace. Your head will bring peace to Jawa. It's your greatest contribution to this country. Amidst hateful glares, a handgun was pressed against Wei Yin Man's forehead. The cold barrel made Wei Yin Man struggle frantically, but to no avail. With a gunshot echoing, the underground command room fell silent once more. Wei Yin Man, the iron-fisted president seeking to establish a great Java country and turn Jawa into a small overlord of Southeast Asia, met his end in the cold, damp basement, dying in a way he never envisioned, at the hands of his most trusted political allies. July 20th. In Yagata, turbulent winds have shifted, as a rumor about the death of Wei Yin Man spreads. Soon after, a brief turmoil erupted within Yagata, and a new president of Java ascended to power, announcing an unconditional surrender to the Jekka group. This final defense line of Java in Yagata thus fell into the hands of the Jekka group. The news spread externally, drawing attention from all directions. The Jekka group commenced war against Java on May 26th, and by July 20th, in just over a month, had subdued Java, the strongest nation in Southeast Asia, adding a golden layer to the already illustrious achievements of the Jekka group. The enormous combat power showcased by the Jekka group in this war was undeniable. The Magic Bird fighters that dominated the skies, the Devourer-class deep-diving cruisers patrolling the seas, the Spider main battle mecha, and genetic warriors on the land all crushed the forces of the Java country. Even the numerically superior ground forces outmatched Javans with the Jekka group's armored vehicles and advanced weaponry, combined with an elite force of regular and super soldiers, leaving Java with no escape by sky or ground. War is an exhibition of national strength. The Jekka group, wielding control over Southeast Asia, with wealth that incited the envy of the beautiful country, and possessing advanced biological and mecha technologies, left Java, apart from its large population, completely outclassed. Though the war has ended, the transformation of Java by the Jekka group is far from over. Java, with its populace exceeding 200 million people, requires the Jekka group to undertake substantial labor to consolidate power there. First, concerning Java's upper echelons, the Jekka group must covertly evaluate all senior politicians, allowing only those approved by the group to ascend to high positions. Militarily, to prevent independence ambitions from Java's opportunistic factions, the Jekka group decided to maintain the largest possible troop garrison, with about 180,000 troops stationed throughout the Java country, including at 3 large, permanent military airports for Magic Bird fighters, building 1 military port each in the east and west capable of docking Devourer-class deep-diving cruisers. The entire 5th Mechanical Combat Brigade was relocated to the outskirts of Yagata City as the core heavy equipment on land, capable of responding to any incidents in Yagata with precision strikes against enemies. Additionally, a total of 200,000 troops from the JECA Group's vassal countries, such as Siam, and Nan, and Johor, are stationed throughout the Java country to ensure it remains under high military pressure. More crucially, the JECA Group employs a strategy akin to giving a stick with a sweet date. The wealthy and powerful who survived the JECA Group's purge filled the gaps left by their deceased peers, expanding their businesses further, on the singular condition that they swear loyalty to the JECA Group, and those with children must send them to study in Chan country to receive advanced education and training from the JECA Group, without unauthorized departure. This practice mirrors taking hostages in ancient times. Moreover, the JECA Group realized that Java, this populous nation, has too many people and must be addressed. Thus, the JECA Group, through its support, established 2 puppet regimes, one on the left and the other on the right, situated on Java Island and Sumatra Island, respectively. Java, known as the Thousand Island Country, has its smaller islands sparsely populated and resource-poor, offering little value aside from playing in the mud at home even with self-governance. Only Java Island and Sumatra Island are the core of the Java country, where Java Island boasts a population of 145 million and spans 130,000 square kilometers, while Sumatra Island houses 50 million people but covers a larger area with 400,000 square kilometers. These 2 main islands have historically engaged in overt and covert power struggles, alliances, and conflicts due to differences in faith and ethnicity, such as 200 years of war between Sanfuki on Sumatra and the dynasties of Magellan on Java. Currently, with the Java country's navy destroyed by the JECA Group, the archipelago, to control regional separatism, places utmost importance on having a central navy capable of suppressing regional navies. With Java country's naval strength now defunct, the JECA Group subtly coaxed and divided allegiances, quickly granting the puppet regime on Sumatra Island the hope of independence, causing it to become more active. As August approaches, the Suman regime is established, founding the Suman country, immediately recognized by the JECA Group. Thus, the Java country is artificially divided into 2 by the JECA Group. The establishment of Suman country has incited outrage across Java country, with many Javanese accusing Suman country of being traitors and spies, betraying their own nationality. Yet, Suman country retorts, blaming Java country for embroiling them in war, causing devastation, and declaring it unqualified to lead the development of Suman country, asserting that only the JECA Group can guide Suman country towards prosperity and strength. The JECA Group is pleased to see such developments, as long as Java country remains fragmented and continually self-destructive. The JECA Group, perched above, can play the role of arbiter, manipulating them at will. After Suman country declared independence, the genetic warriors from the JECA Group's intelligence department spearheaded the establishment of secret police organizations known as West Factory and East Factory, although these are not their official names. The West Factory personnel primarily operate in Java country, while the East Factory personnel are based in Suman country. They are accountable only to the JECA Group and can monitor and apprehend citizens at will without judicial approval, detaining suspects and applying punitive measures. Their main task is to arrest anyone dissatisfied with the JECA Group, those who defame the JECA Group, and those who conspire to overthrow the JECA Group's privileged status in this place. Among them, the West Factory was dispatched to work in Suman, and the East Factory was dispatched to work in Jawa, 2 countries with opposing nationalist sentiments. This secret police force with considerable authority is not ordinary, quickly becoming adept at power struggles, persecution, framing, and disorderly factional disputes. Yagata City. Although this city has experienced the flames of war and bears many scars of its aftermath, a large number of citizens have returned, displaced by necessity, to rebuild their homes. In front of the Javanese National Congress Building, the national statue that once symbolized Jawa's independent spirit has been toppled and replaced with a statue of Sujie. The office building near the Congress Building, where the Javanese Minister of Finance is located, was stormed by a group of people. This group, dressed in black, wore badges bearing the emblem of the Jekka Group on their chests. They belonged to the East Factory, the secret police of the East Factory. East Factory business, unrelated persons, get out of the way. The guard at the gate was about to stop them, but his face turned grim upon seeing the credentials shown by the other party, instinctively stepping back. Humph! Let's go. Sujianyo sneered, leading the East Factory's secret police into the building, smashing into the Minister of Finance's office under the watchful eyes of staff members. The Minister of Finance, bewildered, raised his head only to see a group of fierce East Factory secret police lunging at him. Putridichu, you're in trouble. Come with us. Sujianyo spoke ominously, casting a malevolent smile at the financially restrained Minister Putridichu. What have I done wrong? You dare to arrest me without evidence. I will report you. Putridichu, visibly indignant, roared at Sujianyo. Sujianyo smirked mockingly and replied, Yesterday someone saw you roll your eyes when passing Commander Su's statue in the park. The evidence is irrefutable. This act clearly shows dissatisfaction with Commander Su and the Jekka Group. Are you secretly plotting to incite rebellion against the Jekka Group's rule? What? I had no such intention. You are blatantly slinging mud. Putridichu felt insulted. While he indeed had some dissatisfaction with the Jekka Group, he had never openly expressed any opinions. Because in today's Jawa country, especially if one aspires to rise in rank, opposing the Jekka Group is a serious crime, severe enough to result in execution. You can tell that to us at the East Factory. Sujianyo ignored the other party's defense and took him away directly. Stand back. The East Factory is getting more and more reckless, openly arresting our minister in broad daylight. Jawa country is not your playground for lawlessness. However, as Sujianyo led the East Factory personnel out of the office building, they found themselves surrounded by a sea of police officers. Yagata Police Chief Zaiden was furious because the man Sujianyo captured, Putridichu, was his father-in-law. Who are you? Dare to interfere with East Factory affairs? Sujianyo, looking at the surrounding police, showed no signs of restraining himself and arrogantly walked forward, poking a finger into Zaiden's chest. I am the Yagata Police Chief. I have the authority to inquire about matters happening within Yagata. Zaiden remained stern, his gaze fixed intensely on Sujianyo. Zaiden, save me. Seeing Zaiden, Putridichu felt as though he saw a savior and started shouting excitedly. Heh, so you want to meddle in East Factory affairs? Do you know what you're doing? How dare you contend with the East Factory? If you don't back off now, you'll have no chance to retreat later. Sujianyo smiled darkly, patting Zaiden's face with a tone brimming with threats. Zaiden, never having faced such contempt and insult, flushed with anger and reprimanded. You Jekka Group lapdogs, assisting outsiders and bullying your own people. Even if the King of Heaven came today, you must leave the people with me. Upon these words, Sujianyo's smile didn't waver, instead exhibiting a smug expression. Lapdog? Being the Jekka Group's dog is the greatest honor, a fortune unattainable in 10 lifetimes. Isn't that right, everyone? That's right. Being a dog for the Jekka Group is better than being a dog for you Javanese. Being a dog for the Jekka Group far surpasses being like you human dog creatures. The East Factory secret police echoed in agreement, each word striking a nerve with Zaiden, making his mouth twitch. All right, there's no point in saying more. Aren't you stopping us with just your police? Sujianyo's smile gradually faded as he looked at the Javanese police blocking the way. It's enough to take you down. Get them, arrest these bastards. I'll take full responsibility for any issues. Yet even after Zaiden's call, no police officer moved. Just as Zaiden was puzzled, he felt a slight tremor beneath his feet. A Spider main battle mecha appeared from around the street corner, its 203mm main gun aimed at the Javanese police, intimidating them into inaction, unable to follow Zaiden's orders. Behind the Spider main battle mecha, a dozen troop carriers raced in, and in the screeching brakes, soldiers from the Jekka Group swiftly disembarked, encircling the Javanese police. Drop your weapons or get killed. Under the threat from the Jekka group soldiers, the police frantically dropped their handguns as if discarding hot potatoes. At this moment, Zaiden's face lost all color. He never anticipated the Jekka group's army would appear here. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he quickly changed his demeanor. Friends, I was just joking earlier. It's a misunderstanding. Everyone stop staring, we're going home. Zaiden tried to dismiss the event as a misunderstanding, but Sujianyuo didn't plan on letting him off. Did you already forget your insults towards the Jekka group? I haven't. Arrest him. Anyone who dares to defame the Jekka group must be an ambitious schemer who needs reform at the East Factory. Sujianyuo sneered, and his men stepped forward, pinning Zaiden, the police chief, to the ground and handcuffed him. Throughout the process, the Javanese police stood frozen, not daring to move, as the Jekka group soldiers pointed guns at them, not to mention the presence of the Spider main battle mecha. These police officers, who normally deal with civilians, were outmatched and had no courage to resist the Jekka group army. Finished. Seeing this scene, Zaiden was filled with regret. He shouldn't have come here. Thank you, soldiers, for your help. I'll host a meal for you soon. Sujianyuo jogged up to the Jekka group soldiers, respectfully exchanging pleasantries with the leading genetic warrior. In Jawa, the mighty overseers of the East Factory, like Sujianyuo, only put on a smiling face for the Jekka group soldiers because he knew where his backing lay. After capturing Putri Dhu and Zaiden, Sujianyuo returned to Sumen, only to hear the bad news that their own high-ranking figures were also arrested by the West Factory with baseless charges. Bastards! How dare the West Factory act so wantonly? Sujianyuo was vehemently enraged, decisively beginning even more brutal persecution against the Jawa country. The conflicts between both sides escalated step by step, turning into a contest of who could arrest more people. Eventually, arrests were made with just verbal orders, plunging both countries into paranoia, with frequent clashes between the East and West factories. This political persecution eroded the remaining bonds between Jawa and Sumen, rendering their relationship antagonistic. With internal fractures appearing, they no longer focused on resisting the Jekka group. Instead, they aimed to destroy their counterparts, while the Jekka group, aloof and secure, found the dynamics in Jawa and Sumen increasingly stable. The various bold maneuvers of the Jekka group in Jawa country have left other nations around the world stunned. By this method, the Jekka group directly divided a country with a population of over 200 million, turning it into one of the territories under the influence of the Jekka group. The promotion of the Dragon Coin will naturally no longer encounter any obstacles, successfully increasing the number of users within its circle by over 200 million people at once. While the Jekka group wantonly ravaged Jawa, reshaping the country to its own likeness. The beautiful country, which always prides itself as the world police, remained indifferent, watching with open eyes as the Jekka group strategy allowed their influence to expand significantly once again. Of course, the beautiful country did not take completely no action, but their actions were limited to issuing statements condemning the Jekka group without any actual military deployment. To maintain its own hegemony, the beautiful country is reluctant to enter lightly. If they enter and win the battle, it would be good and they can preserve their hegemonic status. But if the war is lost, it would shake their position as the world's dominant power. The beautiful country has been able to dominate the world for so many years due to its strong military might, especially its navy, which is the unblemished golden body of the beautiful country. The Jekka group possesses the Devourer-class deep-diving cruiser, and of course, the beautiful country is unwilling to rashly enter the fray, fearing that war might shake their dominant status, indulging the Jekka group in swallowing Jawa country. Externally, the beautiful country President Jesmin made an appeal. Any war, whether won or lost, will destroy the prosperous lives and beautiful places of the people, causing beloved ones to endure separation and death. The world now needs peace at all costs, not the creation of more war fires. The beautiful country president personally called for peace with attractive wording, maintaining the stability of their hegemonic status, claiming they did not send troops to Jawa for the sake of world peace, not due to fear of the Jekka group. For the beautiful country, which often stirs trouble in wars, to say the word peace shows they absolutely do not want to engage in a direct confrontation with the Jekka group. In the minds of the beautiful country's high-level officials, with their Annihilation fleet cruising in the Indian Ocean, as long as enough pressure is applied to Jekka, after swallowing Jawa country, they will also be complacent for a while. This time, it is enough for them to develop countermeasures against the Devourer-class deep-diving cruiser. However, at the cost of sacrificing Jawa country, the beautiful country tried to use appeasement policies to hope the Jekka group would show restraint. But they didn't expect the appetite of the Jekka group to be much larger than the beautiful country imagined. After devouring Jawa country, the Jekka group's aggressive momentum did not actually cease. After months of digestion, stabilizing the situation in Jawa country, the Jekka group once again made a move. On September 25th, the Devourer-class deep-diving cruiser of the Jekka group appeared in the sea area around Luzon, discovered by fishermen. As this news spread, the global situation once again changed dramatically. Nations worldwide were shocked, realizing the Jekka group intends to thoroughly conquer Southeast Asia, as even a single Jawa country can't satisfy the Jekka group's mighty appetite. Black Palace. Judith quickly walked into the president's office, where President Jesmond and the beautiful country's Minister of Defense Salim Hamon were already waiting. Mr. President, this is the intelligence we've gathered in Johor, indicating the Jekka group indeed has the potential to launch another war. According to our investigation, troop movements within Johor are frequent, and those transport warships have gathered here, which is a sign of a cross-sea landing. Judith placed the investigation report before President Jesmond, the seriousness of the situation weighing heavily in Judith's tone. Jesmond flipped through the intelligence, which was corroborated by the CIA's multi-source investigations. Most of the information was collected through public, open observation and study, combined for analysis, with very high accuracy that sometimes could even predict the precise timing of enemy military actions. After reading, Jesmond pinched his forehead in annoyance. What on earth is Su Jie up to? Is he so certain that we wouldn't dare take action, acting more and more recklessly? The more Jesmond spoke, the angrier he became. Jawa country was just gone not long ago, and the Jekka group couldn't wait to move towards Luzon. It's essential to know that Luzon is a part of their traditional sphere of influence, as it was once a colony of the beautiful country, with many military bases still there, compared to Jawa. Luzon is the beautiful country's staunch ally. But now the Jekka group seems poised with knives against Luzon. Such conduct entirely disregards the beautiful country. The current situation is whether we should confront the Jekka group directly for Luzon. Judith noticed Jesmond's tone seemed off and quietly reminded him. Does the military have confidence in winning? Jesmond did not answer but first asked Minister of Defense Salim Hamon a question. Salim was silent for a few seconds and then opened his mouth. Our military has conducted many war games, one side playing our fleet, the other the Jekka group. Based on multiple simulations considering the possibility of the Jekka group having a hidden cruiser arsenal ship, if we engage their main fleet at sea, the victory ratio would be approximately 7-3, us being the 7. However, even if we secure a victory, our losses would be significant. This answer was not what Jesmond wanted to hear. His expression clearly showed dissatisfaction. All this time, haven't you thought of a way to deal with the cruiser arsenal ship? It's difficult. This type of cruiser arsenal ship has only just emerged, and our understanding of it is still limited. Coupled with its unique characteristics and massive missile capacity, even if our aircraft carrier strike group were suddenly attacked, it would be extremely dangerous. Our air defense system might not be able to intercept all the missiles. Of course, naval warfare is not only about clashes of power, but also the application of tactics, and even luck can tip the scales of victory and defeat. We might achieve a major victory, or our losses might far exceed estimates. In short, going to war with the Jekka group's fleet now carries great risks. Salim shook his head. Their nation-devouring fleet was patrolling the Indian Ocean, not intervening in the Jawa country war, precisely because of the threat posed by the Devourer-class deep-diving cruiser. If it were any other country, the beautiful country would have intervened long ago, not allowing the other side to act so pompously. Mr. President, right now it's very difficult for us to accept the loss of a sunken warship. If such an event were to happen, our nation's prestige would be shaken, and in the future, we would have to jump through many hoops, and things would not go as smoothly as they do today. Selim expressed the military's view, not supporting going to war with the Jekka Group at this time. War is not child's play. The aircraft carrier fleet is one of the cornerstones of the beautiful country's world hegemony and the key to its unhindered global dominance. If the Navy encounters problems leading to excessive losses, the beautiful country will encounter big trouble, and many countries might no longer listen to the beautiful country. In the past, when the beautiful country was strong, they could rise by leveraging power, and just by stomping their feet, they could shake the entire world. If it caught a cold and fever with economic downturns, the whole world had to pay the price. But if the beautiful country became weak and was found out, it won't have the same authoritative voice, and there would be more and more people paying lip service to the beautiful country while acting contrary to its wishes. Being the world's dominator is both an honor and a pressure. Just like the once glorious Great British Empire, after its decline and the loss of world hegemony, it was mired in economic debt, with the beautiful country becoming its biggest creditor. Militarily, it was left impoverished, hard to maintain. Politically, the global wave of colonial independence started, and one by one, its colonies broke away from its control. During the height of the Great British Empire, even with all the courage in the world, these colonies wouldn't dare to think of such a lovely thing as independence. As if the Great British Empire's powerful ships and sharp guns were just for show. Now the beautiful country also has such concerns, needing to maintain its image as the world's dominator, not willing to let others see its weakness. Mr. President, I think sometimes you have to let go when necessary. Judith also spoke up. His opinion aligned with the military's, also advising against, at this time, engaging in an uncertain war with the Jekka Group over Luzon. Jesmon's face was fluctuating. After much contemplation, he sighed heavily. Forget it. Deliver my message. Order the evacuation of several of our military bases in Luzon immediately to avoid direct conflict with the Jekka Group. The Jekka Group is coming on strong at the moment. Alas, the people of Southeast Asia can only be left to suffer for now. Because a Devourer-class deep-diving cruiser of the Jekka Group appeared near the Luzon exclusive economic zone. The eyes of the world were focused on it. As is well known, Luzon is an ironclad supporter of the beautiful country, frequently participating in military exercises conducted by the beautiful country in Asia and proactively cooperating with the beautiful country in stirring up trouble. It is no exaggeration to say that Luzon is a strong contender for the third place as a lackey of the beautiful country, with the second and first places naturally being South Korea and Japan. Now with the cruiser of the Jekka Group appearing near Luzon, such a powerful warship poses a huge threat to Luzon's navy. Luzon rushed to seek aid from the beautiful country and frantically condemned the boundary-crossing actions of the Jekka Group's warship, greatly frightened by the Jekka Group. Previously, they had opposed the Jekka Group's Dragon Coin promotion efforts alongside the Jawa country. Now their good buddy, the Jawa country, had been battered by the Jekka Group with bruises everywhere, and their territory had been artificially dismembered. Now with the cruiser arsenal ship of the Jekka Group purposelessly patrolling near its sea areas, Luzon was naturally panicking and hastily sought protection from its beautiful country papa. Countries around the world are also watching the reaction of the beautiful country, as this incident is easily capable of sparking a war between the Jekka Group and the beautiful country if mishandled. However, no one expected that just 2 days after the incident occurred, on September 27th, the beautiful country officially announced that it would close all major overseas military bases in Luzon and withdraw troops to Japan and South Korea. This announcement shocked the world. That the beautiful country could go so far as to shut down its military bases was astonishing. Not only did it show no intentions of standing up for Luzon, but it also chose to pack up and leave, surprising countries around the world, including the onlookers. Many military experts, who had previously confidently claimed that the beautiful country would definitely support Luzon and ensure its territorial security, were left with swollen faces. Luzon itself was even more bewildered, unable to believe that it had been abandoned by the beautiful country just like that. When they cried and begged the beautiful country to stay, all they received was a heartless rejection. Their beautiful country papa clearly had no intention of staying to share in Luzon's hardships, leaving without remorse and with no hesitation. Luzon, a beautiful country base in Cagayan Province. This is the largest beautiful country military base in Luzon, with over 3,000 soldiers stationed there. Typically, this place is bustling with training or beautiful country soldiers on leave who would go to the Flower Street to seek some fun and relax. But today, at this military base, a large number of beautiful country soldiers received the order, packed up their gear, took their belongings, and boarded strategic transport aircraft. Okay, dear. I will see you when I get back. I love you. Remember to miss me. A handsome African-American soldier was holding a phone, video chatting with a woman. This was his little lover in Luzon, and although he was reluctant, a military order couldn't be refused. Will, please don't go. I can't bear to be without you, and neither can the little baby in my belly. The woman was crying, her face covered with tears, heartbroken. This child is a gift from me to you. If you miss me, look at the baby more often. I'll come back to see you when I have the chance. After saying this, the African-American decisively hung up the phone, severing his last connection in Luzon, and boarded the strategic transport plane. Such situations were not rare. Many beautiful country soldiers who had been in Luzon for a long time had brief relationships or even had started families there. But faced with reality, they had no choice but to let go. Confronted by JECA Group's aggressive pressure, the beautiful country soldiers opted for a strategic retreat, completing their separation from Luzon. On this day, all the beautiful country military bases in Luzon were engaged in the same activity. Moving out. Warships left the ports, aircraft were transported, and ground troops boarded strategic transport planes for relocation. The efficiency of the beautiful country was high. To prevent a repeat of the Changi Naval Base incident, they withdrew all personnel from Luzon, leaving the empty military bases to be handed back to Luzon. Luzon quickly realized something was amiss, and upon inspecting the beautiful country military base, they discovered that it was nearly deserted, only some immobile equipment and buildings remaining, the empty military base leaving Luzon in complete panic. Faced with the formidable entity of the JECA Group, without the protection of the beautiful country, they were like a lamb faced with a tiger with little ability to resist. Just looking at the situation with Jawa is enough. Jawa, much stronger than Luzon, couldn't even last 2 months against the JECA Group, let alone Luzon. Because of the beautiful country's cold abandonment, countless people in Luzon broke down that day, cursing the ancestors of the beautiful country across 18 generations. The beautiful country might have left with a pat on the back, but the Luzon family is here. How could they flee? In fact, they truly could flee. On the same day the beautiful country withdrew, Luzon's wealthy merchants, aristocrats, and celebrities urgently boarded overseas flights under the pretext of traveling or working abroad, fleeing the country, fearing the kind of reckoning that happened in Jawa would fall upon them. For a while, the price of flights from Luzon soared 100-fold, and tickets were hard to come by. Yet, while the upper-class individuals could flee, the vast majority of the lower-class people simply had no means to leave, only able to wait for an uncertain fate.